Okay, thank you for being here. First off, whoever is watching, and I'm originally Palestinian. I'm from Jerusalem, but I never really lived there. I just went for holidays with my parents. All my family is from there. I have 60 to 70 cousins, big families, all in Jerusalem. And now I live in Germany. I live in Berlin. I'm trying to get the citizenship and become German so that I can also visit my family there. I'm currently not allowed to enter the country. I don't have the right paperwork. If I'm German, I can enter. So that makes my mom really sad that her son can't visit her. It makes my dad sad also, of course. It makes me sad because of the things an immigrant has to go through to get citizenship or anything like that, that we need these passports to enter these places. And Germany is a country that's heavily supporting Israel. And it has in one of its rules that if I want to become German, I have to sign a document that acknowledges the existence of Israel as a state. And fundamentally, I don't mind signing it, but I don't have a home either, and Germany doesn't feel like my home right now. That's a struggle I go through all the time, just knowing where home is, and I feel most Palestinians feel that because from a very young age we're all rejected. We were born into a country that's not our country, where we're strangers to it, as if we're not supposed to be there. And then in different parts of the world, you also end up not being accepted as you should. So trying to find out who we are beyond that rejection, beyond our existence being wrong, or being trapped in very small spaces, or trapped in spaces where we can't make decisions, we can't vote, we can't do these things. It's a struggle for each of us, and it's shaped me a lot as a person from a very young age, knowing that I come from that background. And it didn't start in October 7th. Started years and years and years and years ago. Some moral problem, I believe, was happening in Israel and Palestine, and I've personally taken it somehow as my responsibility simply to be a very, very good person to whoever I meet. I try to be a role model. Whenever I meet anyone, I tell them I'm Palestinian, although I wasn't born there and I didn't live there as a Palestinian, but my roots were there. And I want to live properly also for the people who don't get to live properly, who can't go somewhere and be themselves fully, and are also afraid of the judgment, or afraid of the because there's something odd about it, that you might feel that saying anything against Israel, even though a lot of what's happening, children dying in Gaza, there's like a long list of who did what and where and when. You know, people, when we start comparing that, no one goes anywhere. But somehow saying anything against this country that's doing this to my people somehow also feels wrong, as if I will be judged for it, or as if I might be saying something wrong. And I'm living in a country, Germany, that's playing a big role in all of this, sending a lot of money and ammunition. And I'm watching the news in Germany, and I see that they're not showing anything that's happening in Gaza. And a lot of people just have a very wrong image of what's happening. And I still I fight to get this citizenship from a country that's also doing this to my people. All of it ends up being a lot of weight that I feel like I'm carrying all the time. And alongside of the fact that like I said, I want to try to be very good as a person. What does that even mean? How can I be good for my people or for my country that doesn't properly exist? That gives a sense of helplessness that almost every Palestinian feels. We just know we can't do so much about it. Even the Palestinian leaders aren't people that we chose. Somehow they're there. And then maybe they make wrong decisions or take advantage of situations. It's politics, and politics are very far away from most people's hands, and you still feel helpless all the time. You feel responsible and helpless, and a stranger, you know, all of these things, and you still try to find out who you are, right? I try to find out. So this is why I'm actually traveling around right now. This is why I'm in Lisbon and Portugal, trying to find out who I am, where I would like to live, what kind of people are out there, what they're doing, and I'm really here by accident. Also, nothing is an accident, right? I'm not so sure what to do about these feelings. They define me so much, and every other Palestinian. And I'm sure it's going to define a lot of what humanity is also going forward in 100 years and 200 years, the way we look back on this and how it shapes everyone, how it's shaping us now to be here. So I try to see the good in what's happening, that outside of Israel and Palestine, people are coming together and trying to be more moral. Even within Israel and Palestine, there are people coming up. I personally met a lot of Israelis in Berlin who've been in the army, in the Israeli Defense Force, and have seen all of what's happening and decided to leave the army in whatever way they could. Then it's a matter of education also. Everyone in Israel is raised to believe in the system that needs to operate in this way, and then the Arabs also have their own education. Everyone is educated in one way or another, and a lot of education teaches us to hate or to see people as enemies, things like that, and to retrain yourself as a person and think, okay, no, these people aren't my enemies. They're just also very confused because anyone could have been born on either side. But through all the death and who needs to pay for what crime, we forget that. And we think we need to keep hurting people because of our own pain. And yeah, I do therapy, of course. And I think like fundamentally everyone, what's happening at a national level is just what's happening in each person's individual psychology, where they just need to heal very deep generational traumas instead of carrying them forward and forward and forward and forward. And the only way to do that is to start with yourself and see what are the beliefs that I hold, why do I hold them, who taught them to me, do they involve hurting other people, does hurting these people actually help me? Because Israel is hurting Palestinians all the time, and it's not helping Israel, either. And Palestinians also could hurt Israelis, and it's not helping them either. So where does this stopping hurting start? Who can be a bigger person? I ask myself often this question. My mom thinks I'm stupid when I say it, but like, what would Jesus do if he was here? Or what would Muhammad do if he was here? Would he kill all the Israelis, or kill all the Palestinians, or like what would he do? I truly believe, as a Palestinian, I try to see every Israeli as a brother, as someone that I don't hate fundamentally from the start, and try to hear where they are in their story, because they have their own version of their story. And if I can't open my heart that much, then how can I expect anyone else to do that for me? So I try to, as I said, take the responsibility, try to heal my own psychological traumas, and try to see people for who they are, who were taught a specific education, who were often forced to be in the army for years, and they want to be a part of this tribe, they want to protect themselves, and then they hurt other people to protect themselves at the end of the day. That's what I believe most people end up hurting other people for reasons they think are good. And this is just confusion that is hard to get out of. And it hurts me a lot to even try to be this open-hearted all the time, because I'm taking in the pain of so many people and so many things and so many perspectives. But what's the alternative? The alternative is to hate. And there's enough hate, right? Everyone is hating. What bothers me, of course, is the lost potential of so many children who don't get the chance to succeed, like my cousins, who he would be 9 years old and can already solve the Rubik's Cube, but he's in Israel and he's basically in a big prison. He can't leave, or he can't find a good job, or he can't use the potential of his mind. And we're not talking about just one kid who's my cousin, we're talking about millions. So there's so much passion, heart, and blood, and instead of it being shared in a good way with the world, it's being, spilled in the streets. And social media has become toxic everywhere. We have to show people dead babies so that they can see that this cause is important. We're just desensitized to a lot of it, and what can we do? Here's my dead child. He did nothing. It's a moral atrocity, and it just keeps happening. And I see that in my own life. I have to also continue. I have to find a job. I have to make money. I have to pay rent. I have my responsibilities. So where do I find the space even to go out of that, to care even more, to something that's already hurting so much? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I understand why people can avoid deep hurt or deep psychological trauma, because it's easier sometimes to hurt other people than to look at the hurt that you're feeling. And I really see it that way. I really see it that way. Some Israelis sometimes are very, very hard to talk to when it comes to this, where I'm just like, hey, can we look at the human side of this right now? They start bringing facts about dates 50, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, and they know all the history and they have all their arguments ready, and it's like, I can get, Google, and I can research and I can talk with you and we can look at all these points, but I'm trying to see you as a human. Can you also see me as a human? And acknowledge my hurt, just like I'm willing to acknowledge your hurt. And both of them just run very deep. This specific person didn't want that, didn't really care, but that's where I'm at. I think that's where the conversation needs to be. So, as I said, most Palestinians, they carry this with them all the time, whether you know it or not, that they have it. Helplessness, lack of identity, responsibility to all of it, feeling oppressed and rejected. And very often, just acknowledging someone's hurt or acknowledging that you see them can mean the world to them and to the people around them. But trying to go super rational and try to say, oh, I think Israel is right, or I think Palestine is right, or I think the one state or two state solution is the correct thing. This is the human, let's solve the problem. Like, we all have our opinions, but your opinion at the end of the day means nothing if you continue living the rest of your life as you always did. So sometimes when I see people having all these opinions that they think are well researched and deep, it's all very intellectual and articulated, but it's very superficial. And it just goes back to, again, that dead baby in someone's mother's hand who's crying, and she's experiencing this every day. She's experiencing this now as I'm talking, as we're all here. And it always needs to go back to that human heart, the morality of what we are as people, and to really let go of all the different illusions that we have to be able to see that again. I'm optimistic in a way. I'm very spiritual, believe in, like, I hope that all of this teaches us humanity as a whole on a grander scale in the future, something much more important, so that we can make much better lives for everyone. That's my dream, and I'm very hopeful for that. And I always say it starts with me, to be that person. I'm still young. I still have a lot of years ahead of me, so I hope that I can have some positive attribute, even if it's just being a role model to other Palestinians that can then see that they can also succeed. I have my privileges. I'm living in Europe. I had a very well-off family in that sense, and I have my family who can take care of me. I know my privileges, but I'm making the most out of all of it. And at the end of the day, the key message I can give anyone is to try to see how you can be the best and the most empathetic to the people around you. That's all any one of us can really do. Yeah. Thank you for this, and I hope someone takes something good from this.